Well, welcome back everyone to Hocking Valley Community Hospital's 55 Ways to a Better Me. I'm Katy Kudlapur, and I'm excited to be with you this month of November and wishing you all a very happy Thanksgiving as we celebrate here next week. Today, I thought that it would be good to talk about managing our calories at Thanksgiving so that we feel our best. And there are a number of ways to do that. And I'd like to start with thinking about the traditional Thanksgiving dinner being glorious as it is, but quite caloric if we partake in a lot of the traditional foods. So how might we manage our calories a little differently so that we feel our best? So first, let's think about if we didn't cook anything differently. If we showed up for Thanksgiving with all of the traditional goods. Now, you may be doing that at home. You may be going to someone else's home. What are some things we could do? I would like to suggest that number one, we take smaller portions of the items. Perhaps we use a smaller plate. And one thing that is really helpful is just to simply eat slower. So if we eat slower, it gives our brain a chance to catch up with our belly, and we may find that we don't really need as much food in one sitting. So that's one of the easiest things to start with. But if you are preparing the meal or taking food somewhere else, I have found that the dishes that you make, you have control over what goes in it. So, for yourself, you may be looking to cut back calories in a particular dish. You may want less salt in a particular dish. You may really prefer a lower fat option. So if you know that you're taking a dish that you can have more of and you're comfortable with what's in it, that's one thing you can fill your plate with in addition to tasting some of the other items. So with traditional Thanksgiving, we know that we have usually a protein, which is very often the turkey. And turkey is a lean protein, so that's great. Some people have fish. Back in the early Pilgrim days, fish was a traditional part of the first Thanksgiving. Again, a lean protein. So we'll leave that just where it's at and think about the sides for Thanksgiving meal. Traditionally, again, if you choose potatoes, noodles, green bean casserole, the sweet potatoes, that's in our family very traditionally a part of the day. All of those rack up the calories. And again, if you choose to have smaller amounts of that, but I would like to challenge you to maybe think a little differently about some sides that you bring to the table. Green bean casserole could be substituted with green beans, cooked in some reduced sodium chicken broth, and season it with some maybe different things that you've experimented with. As far as salt and pepper, you really can't go wrong with that. If you're checking sodium levels, this is regular salt, but Morton's makes like a no salt type, and there's other brands as well to keep your sodium lower because sodium levels also can just skyrocket on Thanksgiving. And having a salad at the Thanksgiving feast is great, a great option to have some of that on your plate, and also a vegetable tray. You can really have fun with that, creating your own dip with say a no fat or a low fat sour cream or yogurt. And we'll talk about yogurt here in a little bit. But you can make really pretty designs with your relish tray. Or you can just, cut up cut up a lot of different things and have it on a big platter. So relish trays and salad are kind of an obvious great thing to have at a party because they're non-starchy, low glycemic index, they're finger foods, at least your relish tray. And so we'll set that aside as something you just should have at any gathering. But when we think about hot vegetables or hot sides, I have the obvious here in the way of a pumpkin, because pumpkin is a squash. Traditionally, we like to sweeten that up, and we'll talk about that shortly. But there are other squash that are very much a part of this season that we can do some great things with. And I'd like to, they're all non-starchy vegetables. So in and of themselves, that means that they're lower calorie, they're lower glycemic index, so they're not going to shoot your blood sugar up. And November is also National Diabetes Awareness Month. And we touched on that last month as we closed out October. And so whether you're diabetic or not, having some of these lower calorie foods are just a great way to enjoy your meal and not overdo. So I brought some squash here today to this presentation just to show you a few of the variety, especially here in Hocking County, that we can find quite easily. The first things, these type of squash, you can find them in yellow and green, sort of like the zucchini squash type. Those can be cut up on a relish tray raw, or they can be cleaned. Always clean your squash first, and cut into slices and just sauteed in a little bit of olive oil, or even, you can get a spray butter that is lower fat, or even just a small amount of butter if that's what you choose to use. That makes a great side. People really like that. Has a nice taste when sauteed lightly with salt and pepper. We also have a spaghetti squash. This has a hard outside shell. And if you take the sticker off, clean it well, and microwave it for about a minute or two, it will soften up that shell so that you can slice that, take out the seeds, flip it upside down, and roast it in the oven. I like to roast it for about a half hour at 350. When you take spaghetti squash out, you can take a fork and it almost looks like noodles that makes a big plate. I'm going to suggest that you look up some recipes on Pinterest or a site that I use often called Sandy's Kitchen. And if you look up that site, you can find recipes for these different types of squash. This one is a butternut squash. And again, a hard shell, but you can clean it and microwave it for a minute or two to soften it up whole, and then cut it and roast that the same way, and find your own recipes online because there's such a variety there. I couldn't pick one. You can even make all of these sweet if you choose to, or savory for the sake of a nice side with your meal, whatever your protein may be. Now, here's one of my favorites. This is an acorn squash. Growing up, we used to cut this in half, open it up, and put butter and brown sugar in it, and then roast it in the oven for about a half hour at 350. Up. These days, Splenda makes a brown sugar that is very tasty, but less calories if you choose to eat it that way. But did you know that a whole half a cup of acorn squash in and of itself, not anything added, is only 28 calories. So I'd like to suggest that squash is a great option, whether you choose to sweeten it with a regular Splenda or stevia, which is a plant-based sweetener. You may have your other favorite sweetener, but those two I typically use. So coming back to the pumpkin, which is a squash, of course you can clean your own and roast it, or you can get the canned pumpkin. I found this very interesting that a whole half cup of pumpkin, at least this brand, Libby's, is only 45 calories. So only 0.5 grams of fat. So in and of itself, how you choose to use it kind of defines the caloric part of your meal or of your dish. If you choose to use a sweetener like stevia or Splenda and add it to something else lower calorie, you might still enjoy a wonderful pumpkin flavor. Now, this is just the pumpkin, so I don't want to leave out the importance of, say, a pumpkin pie spice. Now, pumpkin pie spice is basically just a condiment that can really give some great flavor to something that you might want to create yourself versus the traditional pumpkin pie. Again, if you choose the pumpkin pie, maybe consider just eating a little bit less in the whole day to help you feel better at the end of the day. I'd like to say too, in your meal, a way you can preserve some of your calories is to keep your beverages free. Consider drinking water or unsweetened tea or black coffee. All of those are free of calories, and we certainly really don't want to add abundance of calories by drinking things such as sugar in our tea or regular pop. So that's kind of an obvious way that we can just drink calorie-free things. Of course, water's excellent, and an excellent day to keep that as your drink. You can even get a calorie-free lemonade now, so consider that with your beverages. Okay, so that kind of brings us to our sweets, because that is such a part of Thanksgiving. And we've talked about the pie, but I would like to expand a little bit on adding perhaps any of the squash or the pumpkin to a yogurt. I have also made like a shake in the blender with pumpkin and pumpkin pie spice, so that you almost have like a pumpkin shake drink, but with ice, possibly almond milk or cashew milk. Now, there's nothing wrong with using your regular dairy milk, and if you're not using much, the calories kind of even out. But if you really like it a little bit more milky, almond milk and cashew milk do have less calories per volume. But using yogurt, some people say they don't care for the taste of yogurt in and of itself, but mixed in with some other flavors, you might be very surprised. So what are the benefits? Well, I brought a variety of yogurts here to talk about. And let's look at the Greek yogurt first, because I have two different plain Greek yogurts. So what's the hype with Greek yogurt? Well, both of these have right around, this one has 100 calories, this has 80. But as far as the carbohydrates, my goodness, compared to say ice cream or pie, we're only looking at 6 carbohydrates for the whole individual container here. So if we added a little bit of pumpkin to that, we could end up having a pretty low calorie dessert if we used a sweetener and the spices that were non-caloric. That is a possibility. Now, say the Greek yogurt typically is hyped because it has more protein. So like this Chobani has 14 grams in half a cup. The Simple Truth has 16 grams. So if you're looking for a little more protein, maybe keeps you a little more full and satisfied, protein will do that for you. you know, the Greek yogurt might be the option. But let's say you are more interested in having a little sweet, so we go with a vanilla. Now you can get vanilla Greek yogurt. Has just a little bit more calories, 120 in this container, still 13 grams of protein, but your carbs are going to go up a little bit with the vanilla. Again, probably still a better option than traditional major chunk of pie, but you know, it's an option. And maybe beyond Thanksgiving Day, you're still wanting a little pumpkin in this wonderful season of fall. But the pie's all gone and you're saying, how could I enjoy something pumpkin? I would really suggest looking at some yogurts. Again, the Greek yogurt's going to have more protein in it. I have two here, the Too Good, which still has good protein. Carbs are only 3 in the Too Good yogurt. And then this is a keto-friendly yogurt. Only 2 grams of carb, but if you see something that says keto, it's probably going to have more fat in it. And this little half cup has 15 grams of fat, which increases the calories to 200. So a yogurt's not a yogurt necessarily, but if you check your label for what serves your purposes better, it really is a great base, whether you're making a shake or some type of a pudding type thing with some flavoring. I obviously use yogurt a lot, and it has some other health benefits with, you know, active cultures in it, which really helps your digestion. I didn't mean to leave out the cauliflower because, but I guess that's my obvious here. I wanted to touch on that because in lieu of mashed potatoes, you can make a cauliflower bake. Now I did see at the grocery that you can even buy that frozen so that you just heat it up and you have instant mashed cauliflower. But if you'd like to make your own, fantastic recipes on Sandy's Kitchen. And cauliflower can be used for so many things. If you buy the head of cauliflower, that can just be chopped down, blended in a food processor, or just chopped up and microwaved. Some great recipes. You can make a mock macaroni and cheese with cauliflower and some low-fat cheese. I use usually a low-fat shredded cheese because it's quick and easy. The Laughing Cow cheese comes in wedges and can be melted down on top of cauliflower and then baked in the oven with seasonings to make a nice side. Low calorie, it's a non-starchy vegetable. Cauliflower comes already riced in a frozen pack. So if you're looking at a recipe that you need it and you say, I don't have a blender anymore or a food processor, just buy it riced. When it's on sale, stock up and keep it in your freezer. This particular Kroger brand steams in the bag, so you can't get much easier than that. Tomatoes, also a non-starchy vegetable that really can be added to anything we've talked about, maybe not the sweets, but that really make a tasty addition to any dish. And then I'd like to tell you about one more sweet that I just heard about yesterday regarding peanut butter, because I have been using the powdered peanut butter. This is PB2. You get 2 tablespoons that are only 60 calories, only 1.5 gram of fat. Now compared to regular peanut butter, it's a huge difference. But what I'd like to show you is, and this is regular Cool Whip, like a Ready Whip, but 2 tablespoons of the Ready Whip. I'm gonna be kind of generous there. And mix that with some powdered So see, your tablespoon is pretty big. 2 tablespoons of that is pretty big. So if we mix the powdered peanut butter, and I'm telling you this because it's quick and easy, and when you're tempted to go get that other piece of pie, this might be something that you consider, or a late night memory of how good Thanksgiving was the day before. This might be something to save you some calories if you like peanut butter, but you mix that up. Mix that up good, and it is it tastes very much like peanut butter pie filling. So you can work with that and make yourself a nice snack, really under 100 calories, that tastes super rich and good. Finally, when we think about Thanksgiving and optimal health, our relationships are very important. And I would like to suggest that when we've enjoyed our meal, that you don't necessarily continue around the table, eating beyond what you feel like your body wants, but to take time to focus on your conversations. Take time with the people you care about. If some of those people aren't there, maybe give them a call and have a conversation on Thanksgiving, and really show your appreciation for having different people in your life. That's all a very necessary part of this holiday, and just thanking God for all of the mighty blessings that He brings into our life. So I hope that this was helpful. The 2 websites that I use often for anything that I've mentioned and so much more, again, is on Pinterest or Sandy's Kitchen. And if you look for lower calorie or lower anything specific to your desire, possibly low sodium or low fat, you will find a variety of recipes to suit your needs. So I hope, since we're just under a week to the big day, that you have a good time shopping. I've found early in the morning or later in the evening is less crowded at the store. And again, I just wish you a very happy Thanksgiving, managing your nutrition and still feeling great this year so that you can enjoy the people that you love. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Bye.